Good morning, folks. I am looking at the QQQs and have already had a couple opportunities from 318.87, just down into this 58 level. This has been a very tight range, and I would like to see it resolve a little bit higher. So what I'm looking for going into the rest of the morning that I'm going to be here anyways, we're again going to go skiing. We just had a little bit of a blizzard here at Mammoth, if you can believe that. I want to get out there and enjoy some snow before we head back to Los Angeles on Thursday night. But what I'd like to see in the interim is a repeat of yesterday. So yesterday, we were looking at these charts, and I gave you a retracement number. And I said, if it hits that number, what we want to do is go down and look for this target. And over the course of the day, it played out exactly the way that we thought it was going to play out. We got to the entry point. We got down to the target. Nice big move. I mean, it was $2 a share. And all you really had to do is think through what was likely to happen and then sort of what your best case scenario is. What trade do you really want to be in front of? For today, I'm looking at this chart, and this move right here is a big extension. So we got up above S2, and then we made a reversion move all the way back down to the central pivot. Generally speaking, when we get into S2 and S1 here, this range becomes sort of like the central pivot to S1 would normally be. And instead, we had just a big move down into that range. That worked out nicely for some of the trades that we were looking at. The XRV this morning actually hit the target before the QQQ even really got moving to the downside. Microsoft, we caught a nice move that was in sympathy with the Qs, very much correlated today, very highly correlated with the Qs. And of course, we had Tesla that ran all the bands just as the Qs started moving. So Tesla had an exaggerated move based on what was going on with the triple Qs. So everything was in sort of overdrive this morning, and making these big expansions back down towards that central pivot. What I'm looking at right now is, if we can get back up into at least this area right here, this is a significant support and resistance area. It's also the place that I was looking at the first fib expansion, and it gives us a nice pullback that is going to get us almost into a 2SD excursion in the other direction. So we could get an excursion back up from our central tendency, back up from our mean, that gets us up into here. And if that happens, then we've got the probability of more downside. And if we get our downside from 319, 19 or 29, or whichever one of these numbers you want to use, or if we get an expansion that gets us up into 70 or even into this pivot line, then a move back down through the 70 threshold could give us an indication that we're going to see a move that comes back down and retest this 318.58. So about $1.12 per share is what we would be looking at for that move right there. If we make it up into the pivot line, on the other hand, the blue pivot here, the R1 pivot, it's not a whole lot of support and resistance from the morning there. It did pause there, just like you would expect it to pause there on its way down. It is a 382 retracement of the bigger move lower. So we had a 382 there of this move. Here would be a 382 retracement. But, at this point, I think the shallower retracement up into 319.29 is more likely. And in the interim, this quick move down, this 30 cent from pops that get above the 318.87 line and come back down and settle in on this 318.58 line. It's a small gain. It's about 30 cents per share. But that seems to be the most likely thing that's going to happen, especially as long as the Qs are in the box. So that right there is it. Those are some trading ideas for the QQQ going into the rest of the morning. Very specific levels that we're looking for, very specific entries and exits. We're not looking to follow momentum. We are looking to follow the trend. Trend is our friend, and the trend right now is definitely lower. So unless this reverses and winds up back up in here somewhere, in which case we start looking for pullbacks and extensions to the upside, I think unless that happens, we are going to continue focusing on getting moves to the downside, either from this 318.87 level or from a bigger move up that gets us either into 319.29 or 319.70 and then reverses back lower. I hope that helps. Have a great trading day, and I will talk to everybody tomorrow morning in the first hour trading.